for people who might watch this later who might not know, I'm a geriatric care manager of over 20 years. So I've worked with families and aging process and all the challenges from when people start having health challenges or cognitive challenges to the end of life. And the holidays tend to get even more precious as people think, well, how many holidays do I have with my loved one? You know, I need to show up. Maybe I haven't shown up for a while. How many more holidays is mom going to be around? Um, and so sometimes holidays change as people get older. And sometimes, a lot of times, I have found that people go into the holiday time when they might be spending more time with family and friends with an intention of wanting to make it a nice place, good memories, loving connection. Um, Depends. You know, we all have our expectations of why are we going? Why are we going to be with family or friends? When I say family, it doesn't have to be blood, something, you know, blood related or marriage related. It's just whatever you consider family or friends. So I thought, you know, right now we're doing this live. Uh, we just finished Thanksgiving a few days ago, and it's going to be Christmas and Hanukkah and anything else you celebrate during the holidays in a few weeks. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about setting an intention and just exploring how we can make it the holidays that we desire. What do we want, and how to make that happen, or come as close to it as possible. So I thought I'd share uh, something that from a John Roger book. This is the three set, the Fulfilling Your Spiritual Promise book, and this is on the chapter in here is relationships. For anybody who's looking later, it starts at page 1061, and I'll read most of it. There's some that are a little bit longer. I'm going to just read the bullet point, like he'll have like 6 points. I'll read the bullet point, and then if you want to, there's more information in that bullet point that I won't go into now. So I'll read this, and then we'll open it up for sharing and see how you guys feel about this topic and how your holidays were, how you'd like your holidays to be, and maybe something that you can, that'll be a focus for you. So we'll start off. It's chapter 19, relationships. Our primary relationship is to our own soul. If that's clear, then everything else will follow. Introduction. Now that I've given an overview earlier in the book of the 10% level, the physical, emotional, and mental aspects of the human consciousness, and the key role of attitude, in the next 4 chapters, I will give some information on 4 major areas of the 10% level that impact each of our lives from time to time: relationships, money, work, and health. Let's start with relationships. 2 basic principles of relationships. 1, all relationships are within you. It may look as if a relationship is you with another person or with other people, but it is always you within you. The relationships are one of the greatest mirrors you can have for yourself, your patterns, your beliefs, your conditioned responses. Ultimately, each relationship you have with another person reflects your relationship with yourself. So check out your motivations. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are there any underlying reasons for your actions, thoughts, and feelings? This kind of self-reexamination can reveal much to you about yourself, especially if you see every relationship as telling you how you are with yourself. Number 2, there is never a good enough reason to take away your loving. We can think we are perfectly justified in stopping our loving for a variety of reasons: boredom, irritation, anger, hurt, etc. But loving is always the baseline of life, the thing that is more important than anything else. This does not mean you need to be a doormat or take ill treatment in any form. And sometimes the most loving thing is to tell another person that what they are doing is not something you will participate in. Another approach is to participate in it and still be loving. When you experience God, you experience love, the love that transcends all the physical limitations and touches into your deepest, most sacred place. And you know you are in the presence of your divinity. Let that be your measuring rod for all existence. If something falls short of that loving, move back to the loving, for it is the greatest value to you. Keys to being more loving. Loving can be defined in so many ways. We can refer to loving as not hurting yourself and not hurting anyone else, and as taking care of yourself so you can help take care of others. If you truly do these things, you will be loving. Loving might look like many things to many people. It might look like patience, where you let things unfold the way they are going to anyway. It may look like tolerance and acceptance, where you let people be what they need to be, even if you do not think it is terrific. You know that underneath whatever is going on for them, they are doing the very best they know how. Loving may look like being good to yourself and knowing that you are doing your very best at the time. It may be serving someone with no thought of recognition or gain. It may be living your life in honesty and integrity and keeping your agreements with yourself and others. And of course, loving can also come in many forms and expressions, but start with the loving and then let your expression and behavior come from that. So how can you be more loving? Here are some keys. Pray to be as loving as you can be. 2, forgive yourself for any unloving things you have done, and forgive others for any unloving things they have done. 3, clear any imbalances you have with others so you can share your spiritual heart. 4, communicate. Clear, concise, and clean. 5, when you love someone, give them the best of yourself. 6, when you love 100% and love unconditionally. So rather than trying to control people, just tell them, it doesn't matter what you do because I love you, and that's all that matters. You don't have to love me. Then if someone does love you, their love will be added to the 100% you are already giving, and it is a total pattern of loving and understanding. So I think those are some great keys to go into the holidays with, or anytime, but especially since the holidays seem like people are more aware that that they may be with some people that they haven't been with for a while, maybe people that are important in their lives, and that they want to be, and that we want to be more loving. I know that's how I uh, go into holidays often, and sometimes there's some trepidation with someone that I'm going to see, and sometimes it's a good barometer of how. Sometimes I don't know until I show up and go, oh, I've come a long way, or oh, this pattern is here again. So it's opportunity to come present, be gentle, be loving with ourselves, and maybe use some more keys. And when I remember that every relationship is inside of me, that helps. Sometimes that's the good news, and sometimes that's the other news. Like, oh, it's just about me. And then being gentle with myself, forgiving, and so then that it's amazing how if I'm more loving inside of me, it often will change the other person without even saying anything can change. So, lovely people, I'm going to open the floor if anybody has anything to share about being more loving, or maybe the holidays coming up, or an important meeting that you have, or how this relates to what happened at Thanksgiving. The floor is open to whatever you'd like to talk about.
Hi, Susan, present.
Hi.
I had this experience on Thanksgiving. I was invited to the other grandma of my grandson, and I had terrible feelings about her years ago. The first time I ever met her, I handed Riley and over to her, and she reeked of alcohol. She was an alcoholic at that time. She's done a great job of cleaning up her life, and she's now a lawyer, and she's not, I don't think she's this alcoholic anymore, but that stuff doesn't matter. What mattered was that I heard she invited me through my son, and then I got the invitation from her directly, and it took me about 30 seconds to just
It's okay.
return, to say I'm coming. And I realized I was really looking forward to it.
This was gonna go for until 1.
So I had to look inside a little bit. I invited her to join me in getting my grandson out of trouble about 2 years ago. And so I've been getting to know her. She has an edge about her, but you know what? She's a good person, and I'm a loving person. So I found my love and said, yes, I'm coming, and really, really looked forward to it. The interesting thing was that my son Eli said, I want you to do the blessing, Mom. I didn't know they did blessings. It was a really diverse group, very diverse. And some of them I've never met before. And I thought, oh my God, of course, that minister in me just stands up when somebody asks for something, right? But I had nothing to say. It was like, I can't just get up and say, Father, Mother, God, that's not going to do it. So I just got up and I said, well, my son asked me to do this. And the next thing you know, I just was speaking, and I don't remember what I said, but the whole room got hushed. I didn't do a normal blessing, but we did bless everything. And it really shifted things in the room. And I was so glad that I said I would come. Even though I couldn't be the perfect MSIA minister, I was who I was. And it was just a joy. So I already tested that in myself, that's what it felt like. And I passed. And I'm going to continue in this vein. I've just been feeling so loving lately. I'm just falling over with love. And I'm meeting a whole lot of new people. It's like a basketball net or something in the book. Keep hitting the mark and coming in. So yeah, I decided that I don't know if there's going to be any more holidays with anybody. My other kids didn't take me down to Southern California, so I was here. And I don't know what's going to happen, but that is my theme right now, is to just stay in my loving. It was so much fun. And there were 4 old geezers like me, older guys, and they all had fun with me and I had fun with them. So that was good too. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Having fun is definitely a key, huh?
For me, it is. My blessing is a blessing of joy, and that I would know that I was in my ministry from what came back to me, what was reflected back to me. So that's what I experienced. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I can share. So I had been really feeling a lot of emotions about being with my family for Thanksgiving. I love my family, but we don't always see things the same way. So I was determined that I was going to do it, and I was really working with myself to come to a loving place. And we got up on Thursday morning and we went and did our first 5K turkey trot, and we went to breakfast. And while we were at breakfast, before we went to the family gathering, my brother called and said that he had to take my mom to the emergency room because she was wheezing. And it turned out she had COVID, and they had to admit her and do all the things they do to try to help. And for a little while, I thought, wow, I'm a powerful creator. Because the part of me that didn't really want to do the thing, I was like, wow, did I really create this situation with my mom? So part of me was relieved, and then the other part of me had to go sit in the hospital with her, just the two of us. And I'll just say it's not easy for me. I don't. It's hard. She doesn't see me, and I feel a little dead when I'm with her. But then a couple of days later, they had released her from the hospital, and she had to have home health come and continue her medication protocol. And I find that when, it's sort of like when the rubber hits the road, when she really needs me, that my loving kicks in, whether, I get out of the way or my loving takes over. And so I was able to be with her and hold with her. And I would just like to do a better job of that all the time, even when she's doing fine. So I appreciate that what you read, Cheryl. I could probably use to read that every day for a while, see if that might help. So that's where I am. Maybe Christmas will be easier. We'll see.
Thank you.
Well, Cheryl, if I'm next, I guess I'm next. I've been thinking, what dropped into my head was an experience I had many years ago, which I've used in many ways since then. And that is, I found myself at odds. Let's see, which instance should I talk about, because it's happened more than once. Maybe I'll talk about a cousin of mine who's basically the same age as myself, who whenever I visited in Indiana, she made a point of being gone. So I didn't see her for quite a long time. And she's very smart and kind of mental and can be very sarcastic. And that's how I perceived her. So hold on to smart and sarcastic for a moment here in relation to what our theme is. And I realized that I had another experience. I was visiting her mother, and she had made her exit. That is, my cousin made her exit. And I said to myself, that feels so bad that somebody is choosing to ignore terrific me was part of it, but choosing to ignore a friendship that we used to have and don't have it appeared to me we didn't have anymore. So something in me said, well, change the scene or change the picture. So I spent some time building a movie in my head about how I wanted it to be. And the next time, I don't need to tell you the end of this story probably, because the next time I visited, there was my cousin. And she said she had purchased, my memory is she said she had purchased some new towels for one of her bathrooms, and could I come and see and admire the beautiful towels that she had purchased. And we sat down over tea and had a long talk, kind of a catch-up talk and so forth. So I learned from that I could make a picture in my mind for how I wanted it to be. And if it's for the highest good of everybody, that picture, that it's like a movie scene that I'm giving somebody to walk into, is kind of how I thought about it. And I had an alcoholic stepmother, and she walked into my movie scene, and it changed the way that we talked to and were with each other, and other many instances. So I just offer that as a learning in my mind. And of course, I wouldn't have recognized it back in that day, but I realized that the sarcasm and all those attributes I'd applied to my cousin were inside of me. That's where they came from. End of story. Or continuation of story, maybe more.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, the power of the story we're telling ourselves and the image we're holding can really shift things. It's a great example.
And the ability to change it. I mean, we're divine beings.
Right. Right.
We could have what we want. It's kind of like I've shared with you. My father passed away. My father, have I told this story on this call before?
Well, it's a new one. Someone might watch this and not seen other ones, so feel free to tell us.
My dad lived to 96. And when he was in his early 90s, he said to me he didn't want to have an ending like many of his friends who went into nursing homes, which that was 25 or 30 years ago. So you know what nursing homes are like and stuff like that. And I said, and he was a minister and an initiate in MSIA. So I said that to him. I said, listen, you've got the power to do what you want. And he never addressed it again. And he must have used his power, because here was his passing. He was at lunch with a friend. The friend later told me that my dad had coughed and was gone. And it must have scared everybody in the restaurant, I would think, but it sure helped my dad get out in a hurry. And so that's maybe another message, is we can have what we want if it's for the highest good.
For the highest good, right?
Yeah.
PTS offers a joyful transitions class. And in the class, people have an opportunity to mock up their own passing, like how, like envision how do we want our passing, and with the idea that if it's for the highest good, that we can have just what we want.
Yeah.
I die in my sleep right after a nice meal with friends.
Mine is, I'm in my big lift chair, stretched out, and I just go and dive into the ocean of love and mercy.
Okay.
That's what Dad must have done in a hurry.
I was looking at the 6 keys that Jer mentioned, and the one, clear any imbalance you have with others so you can share your spiritual heart. And when you love someone, give them the best of yourself. And I realize sometimes when I go with family, especially maybe my parents, when I would show up, if I was out of balance going in, and if I wasn't 100%, like if I wasn't fully loving myself, giving from my overflow, I would show up in a needy place, like, and certainly not giving them my best. I was giving them my crankiness. I was giving them my anger, my injustice, my past hurts. I was bringing all that to the table. And no wonder, like, things, if we talk about, envisioning, or, people picking up on our energy, and them being maybe reactive to what's going on inside of me. It's no wonder that things would not go as smoothly as I would like sometimes. So those are just great keys, and I definitely notice a difference when I'm feeling like I'm loving myself, It's okay. I don't need someone to be a certain thing for me, and I can bring my best. Not only do I have more fun, but sure changes my experience, no matter what they do. Anybody else want to share?
Hi, it's Peggy. I'll share because it involves so much of what all of you have shared. The thing that's come most present to me, like in continuity in all different kinds of situations, and Cheryl, you read that also as part of the spiritual promise, is that really in the end, love is all that really matters. And that if I can see and give of love in whatever situation I'm in, including with myself, that's probably the most powerful thing. And for me, the awakening has been, taking a look at that concept of participating with people, with life from that loving place and seeing the loving in any situation. And that's been, a new concept for me. I mean, I've always known it as, particularly with being in MSIA, but it's like I'm seeing it in a very different light now. I guess maybe in more of like I'm looking through a magnifying glass and I'm seeing it in a bigger way now. And it's making more sense to me. Maybe that's the way that I can best say it. And I appreciate that experience. And I'm continuing to appreciate it more and more. It's like, well, what comes to me to say is like, it's like being let out of jail, of my mind and what my preconceived ideas about things, people. It just opens up a more peaceful, and like seeing life, people, the world through brighter eyes, So that's what I have to share.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And as you were talking, it reminded me of the one of the blessings of getting older, I guess, is like, and the wisdom. Some of these things that sound nice, that are not easy to do, and maybe we're not ready for them when we're younger. But my experience is anyway that as we get older and we have the opportunity to see what is really important. And I love that. I love this get out of jail free. It's like the jail of the mind or the stories or whatever that is. I love that. It feels light. Good stuff.
Just been really enjoying everyone's sharings. And I think, Peggy, you said it really well. I mean, the way you summarized it about loving. And I think that to me was a quality that I heard in everybody's sharings today. And I loved, I've been thinking myself about like the process of transition and what that might be like. And I really, boy, Nancy, I'm all for O.T. Carter. cough or sneeze or something, and then dive into the ocean of love and mercy. I'm conflating your two images, Nancy, of your own.
Go for
And yeah, and it's interesting because we're gonna our 60s. Lori and I are born on the same day, and our 66th birthday is in March. And that was, my mom passed when she was 66, and probably my grandmother's probably a similar kind of age, in her 60s, and I have a grandmother on the other side that lived to be 97, but I don't know, sort of look more like my mom. So I kind of figured like, well, I'm doing really well, you know. I'm not like experiencing what she experienced with chemotherapy in the last 5 years of her life. And I thought, whatever happens, whenever I go, at least my life has been really, you know, I don't get sick anymore like I once did, you know, and it's just every year is a good year, you know. So I'm just very thankful for that. And I, you know, I look at the thing of like health, like, well, what does that even mean? You know, do we, because I've heard JR say every breath is numbered, you know, and he talks about the things that use more or less breaths, you know. It's kind of like, whether you eat high fructose corn syrup, Lay's potato chips, or Lori's groaning, or something that you might think is a bit healthier than that. I don't know if it changes the departure date. But I can say in my experience so far, it has definitely changed the experience along the way. But anyway, I don't know that any of that's the point. I've thought I've learned a lot of things, and then I did this PTS workshop where it kind of came down to, it was a PAP-4 workshop that David Bransky and David Whitaker did, and it came down to one exercise where it was like, what do you really know? And it's like, all the health stuff I thought I knew, everything else just kind of melted away. And it was, oh, we're all the same soul. And I was like, wow, where'd that come from? And that was it. That's it. And I kind of extrapolated on that in my consciousness over the following months. But it's a really neat feeling, because whenever, you know, it's like, you know, all relationships, being with ourselves, all of that, oneness, it's no longer like a nice thought for me. Like it is an actual tangible experience. Like I look at people and I go, wow, there's like a whole universe there, and it's the same universe, you know. So I'm just really grateful for that. I'm grateful for this group. You know, it's required a little bit of extra whatever to be here. Where we normally are in the sunshine by our camper, the Wi-Fi isn't, you know, somebody's got to climb 2,000 feet up a mountain and pack in supplies and repair gear, where probably the animals ate it like they did last time. So, you know, it could be weeks like this, but it was really important to be at this group. When I say really important, it was like just a simple yes or no question. Yes, you need to be there. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, grateful for all of you. So grateful for Cheryl. And I really enjoy each of your sharings, and starting with Karen. I just, like, each of you just has such a wealth of loving and experiences. I'm just in awe of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I just throw in, Lori, just after I muted us, Lori said, yeah, and we're getting ready to go home.
Mm,
What hour?
that's true, huh? We're going home.
We're going home.
Going home. Mhm. Mm.
Did you get in there?
Well, I appreciate the extra efforts it took, and that you showed up. And you definitely demonstrate to me, like, showing up in you always offer me your best. I feel your support and your loving and your encouragement. No matter how I'm feeling inside, it seems like you're always just loving me. I really appreciate that. That's a great example of what we're talking about today specifically. So thanks for the work you do inside of you to show up with your loving for all of us and the group, and bring your sweetness and sending love right back to you, and sending light to your getting Wi-Fi wherever you want it. Anybody else want to share? As you're thinking about sharing, if you want to. I was thinking that sometimes I want something from somebody. So I mentioned earlier my parents or my mother. So I show up for a holiday because that's what we would get together. And if I am showing up with expectations, it might be good to either tell her or tell myself. Sometimes I'm not even aware myself. So if I'm showing up and going in, like how am I showing up? So bring that awareness level. Like I need something from her, or I'm expecting something. And then telling her potentially, hey, whatever, I need this, or like, can you give this to me? If that person is safe to do that. And sometimes being aware of, is this the person I can bring this to, or do I need to go talk to a counselor or a minister or a friend to clear this thing that's going on so I can be more present? So I think part of the wisdom is knowing who I am going to and what they're able to do and how safe I feel with bringing that. Munyan, see your face. Want to share? Or no? I'll read the paragraph underneath this. Number 1, pray to be as loving as you can be. If you sincerely ask God to assist you in seeing the loving in each situation, you may find that your perceptions and approaches gradually change, and that you are living in love more of the time. And ultimately, isn't that what you really want to do? The traveler can give you an experiential level of loving. That experience of loving can be the rock on which you live your life. And as always, doing spiritual exercises is a way of becoming more aware of the presence of spirit, whose essence is loving. Pray to be as loving as you can be. That's a good one. I think sometimes, for me, I have unrealistic expectations of what loving maybe looks like. So I think that's a good key, to just be as loving as I can be, just giving myself a break. Sometimes I think if I were really loving, then I wouldn't hold thoughts of againstness, or I wouldn't be angry at somebody or have a reaction. It would just be some blissful place, which I've actually experienced before. Like I have a glimpse of like not being able to see anything, like not being able to criticize anything, like looking at people like, you're exactly okay. It wasn't good or bad. It's like, you are just, um, it was like a neutral place of just loving and acceptance, like we just were. It was beyond this mind. It was this ticket to, right, the freedom that we talked about earlier, this ticket out of jail, right? So I have that. And so like I keep wanting to get back to that place of just complete like okayness, of like this loving. And it's because I don't live in that 100% of the time, and sometimes I can judge myself like it's not good enough. I'm not a good enough minister. I'm not a good enough daughter or friend. So I like the way that John Rogers stated that, like, be as loving, pray to be as loving as I can be. I like that. That one's for me today.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Nancy again.
Hi.
You've reminded me, or something has reminded me of the place in one of the joyful meditations in which JR suggests that we ask the Christ to fill the gap between what we can do or be at a given moment and what we would like it to be like. So that gives us another option. Asking the Christ to do something for us.
You mean we can ask for help?
What do you think? What a concept.
Now you tell me.
For me, one of my keys is just leaving myself alone. You know, why am I bothering myself all the time? You know, with the circular thinking and, you know, mulling over things or trying to be this. I took try out of my vocabulary many years ago. I said, this is the worst word in the world, right? We don't need to try anything, because as long as we're trying, and we're trying so hard, we're not doing. So I took that one out, but there's always something that comes in. And lately it's just been, for me this year, it's been acceptance, really big time. And that means accepting yourself. You know, we're looking out for what we have to accept, but it's really about accepting yourself and your present state, wherever that is, and moving forward. Because whatever came before will come again, probably. And is there any real reason to hold on to any of that? And I don't find it. So,
Susan, as you're saying that, I pictured like as we show up to our family's door, like if we're going to someone's house for the holiday, for example, and as we show up at the door, we leave our suitcase outside the door, full of our hurts and our wounds and our desires and expectations and all that. Just like, can I just leave it out there and walk in and, you know, then give the best of ourselves? And then, like Nancy said, ask for that spiritual assistance, whoever we pray to or ask to, like the traveler, Jesus, archangels, anybody. Can I get a little help? God, whatever the word, whoever it is, but someone besides ourselves, so we don't have to carry all that. And maybe when we come out, the suitcase is gone in a good way. Maybe that's the benefit of a porch pirate. You know, we get our Amazon packages stolen. Maybe if we leave it outside the door, our stuff, our baggage that we don't want anymore, we don't need to carry forward. We walk in, and then we come out. The gift is that it's gone. And we just move on and
and be still and know that ye are God. Be still and know that ye are God. Yeah. I used to think that was the biggest ego statement I could possibly make. I've given that up too. But, you know, if you allow it, if you just allow what is, wow, life can be pretty wonderful. Oh well.
And Nancy,
Uh,
when you were, yes, John,
No, go ahead, and then I'll go after you.
I was thinking about, Nancy talked about like asking the Christ to fill in the gaps. And I think sometimes I delay my letting go of things because I feel like I need to explain it more, understand it more, talk more about it, like do something. And if I'm when I heard you say that, was reminded to ask, I could ask the Christ to fill in that, to say like, can you finish any of that mentally, or that I thought I needed to do before I could let that go? Can I just let it go now and let the Christ be that bridge and that trash collector?
You know, JR has even said we could end our karma by declaring it done if we really sincerely did that, you know. So that's the extreme of what you're talking about.
Mhm.
At least I think that's what he said. I'm in a human body, so I could have heard something that wasn't there, but
Yeah, and then he'd say, well, and then
pick
the
it up for
person
yourself.
I could hear, I could hear someone sharing that with him, and like, can we clear our karma just by declaring it done? He's like, sure, try it and see if that works.
Go for it, yeah.
And then maybe you need to do that 100 million times, but yes, maybe it will work.
I have to get this one out.
What did Lori just say?
Oh, she said, I have to get this one out. She's actually, snapping and unsnapping little snaps on her jacket. But yeah, there's no hierarchy of needs and priorities. I was just listening to everybody's, when like the last series here. I mean, this applies to everything everybody said today, but like Nancy, Susan, and then Cheryl, like it was just like it was rattling off all these high speed, like major JR keys. And so I don't have enough EEPROM to Lori's shushing me, he's talking too much to maintain them all. But
You can't just do all the things at once.
that's true. I can't do them all at once. So one at a time. There was when Cheryl, when you were talking about leaving things at the door when you go into the family gathering, my favorite story of that is we had this was during like the first year of COVID, when boxes might kill you that came in the mail. And so I was like aging, since we got everything delivered to us, I was like aging stuff for about 3 days before I would really handle it. I'd take it from the UPS guy and then go quickly wash my hands. And so I had this really big box that came from one of my sisters. And I thought, yeah, I kind of pictured like socks and, because I knew she figured we were probably freezing to death here. And so I left it there overnight. And I woke up about 3 a.m. and I heard this, oh, 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 oh. And I look out through, I crack open the door of our camper and I look down, and there is a very large mother bear and 3 cubs sitting there about 2 feet away from me. And they are totally engrossed in this box, which has individually wrapped little clamshells from Bristol Farms full of like chocolate covered macadamia nuts. And, it's just like a bear fattening fantasy. It's like, it's all nuts, including some chocolate covered ones. And they are like so engrossed in this, and the cubs are like just, and I see like about half the box is still there, the big cardboard box with those still wrapped packages. And the thought crosses my mind, well, I could just retrieve that. And I'm thinking like, are you really, and I have a really good, I've actually had my hand and leg inside the mouth of a bear. I mean, I have, and not been hurt. I have a really good relationship, but something said, this is a mother and cubs. It is their Christmas present now. And so I just let it go. It was like, because I really don't like, we don't do sugar. So there were things in there and it solved it for me. Like I really didn't have to deal with that. And the last thing, of course, was I was not going to tell my sister because she would go out shopping and replace it. I was like, oh no, I don't want her to do that. So anyway, it was just kind of funny. I got so much joy out of watching those bears just like have their Christmas dream come true. And I don't know. Anyway, I guess that kind of erased my brain of whatever else I was going to share, but I could say that's it for now.
Yeah, well, it's a great picture too. Like if you leave your luggage and, you know, it's like, oh man, my garbage is in there. You know, like if you leave your trash and your garbage, like icky feelings, hurt, disappointment, like those don't taste very good. If you leave it out there, you go in all clean and shiny and loving the best you can, and you come out, you realize like, oh, the rats loved that stuff. Like they love trash, or the coyotes or whoever takes trash, they love it. And then you could go like, oh, that was cool. The trash is gone and someone else delighted in it. It was a gift for that being that took all that.
Yeah, we got to deal with that kind of letting go process in several stages. Like we went from when we went, forgive me, I won't tell long versions because I may have told this group already, but we went from the 5-bedroom house up the street from JR down, we progressively downsized through various apartments, still in nice locations, but you know what I mean? And we had to get rid of so much at each step. And the last step, we thought we were moving into the camper, but that we hadn't found the right truck yet. And so the camper was in storage, but we had no way to transport it. So we ended up only in the end taking what would go in our little 20-year-old Acura. And that, so the stuff that we had all carefully packed in a storage unit that we figured would fit in the camper, we ended up giving to like homeless people who were riding away with Le Creuset cookware and, Lori's Fancy, all kinds of stuff on their bicycles or just on their backs. And it was just so joyful. And when we were having the truck fixed out in Fontana, at one point, the one day we went away we went in to see Jeff Kelber, and we came back and somebody had walked into the camper and taken about $3,000 worth of stuff, including a computer. So they had, and Lori's complete set of chef knives. So it was kind of like they had taken the most valuable things we owned monetarily. And it was just this laugh like, oh, well,
Wow.
I hope that homeless person, Lori's like, no, I'm taking it seriously. But I hope they liked it. But it was just kind of like this thing of like, well, they didn't actually take any camping equipment, survival stuff. So it's like
They were dogs.
dogs, Lori said. So, we just kind of let it all go. And it was just such a free feeling. Like, well, I guess there's nothing that somebody can really take from us. And it was funny because 2 years later, the guy who owns that place, who also owns the place where we live now, came up with a smile on his face, walking up to our camper, and he had this armload of stuff. And it turns out whoever had taken the stuff had stashed it somewhere in that big truck lot. And when they did a big clean out, they found it. It was all there. The knives, I think the computer was gone, but it was old anyway. And so it was just kind of funny. Like it came back to us long after we didn't even care. And so we ended up giving away those knives to a family member that we thought would actually keep them sharpened and use them all. We only needed like one or two. So it's just, and we'd gotten used to that, right? So it's just so funny. Like there's nothing anyone can take from us. There's nothing we need. We're just like waiting like OT to cough and go or something.
We did need a lot of other
And it's a very happy, free life. I look at how we used to struggle. Thank God we don't. Anyway, that's a lot of sharing. I'm sorry if I went on too long.
No, it's beautiful, and it's a great way to close up close up the day, you know, I think that's, when we talk about the get out of jail free card, leaving our baggage, asking for spiritual assistance, and that there's nothing that anybody can take from us. That, you know, sometimes if in the past, if I've gone into a family gathering and I'm feeling defensive, like, don't say that way, you're taking my joy, or you're taking my freedom from me, or, you know, like letting other people affect me or pull me out of my happiness or freedom or loving. Like if I trust, when I trust that, it's like, you, no matter what you say or do, that you can't take anything from me, you can't take my soul, my loving, then that sets them free and me free. So
Oops.
on that note, God bless you all. Let it all go. Have a free holiday. And hopefully we'll see you back next week.
Thank you.
Blessings to you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everybody.
Love
Thank
it.
you. Love you all.
Thank you. God bless you, Cheryl,
Yes, you too.
Bye.
and everyone.
Know who that is. Bye-bye.